For my capstone project, I was debating on whether or not to make another short film, maybe write a screenplay, but instead, I decided to take this opportunity to see who I could get into contact with, editor-wise, and see what insight I could get from learning about their career journeys in this very competitive industry. I ended up sending 65 emails and receiving 12 emails back, being able to establish officially 10 interviews with editors who work on either advertisements or documentaries, short form, long form editing, TV show editing, feature film editing, and I was able to sit down with them over Zoom and ask them questions about, their experience in the industry. And I'm creating a series called Interviews with an Editor. And I felt it only right that I give each editor their own episode. So what I'm submitting today is just a general overview of the best answers that I received from the editors I interviewed. Here's how it went.
Hello.
Hi, Valerie.
Hey, Valerie, how are you?
Oh, hi. Oh,
How's it going?
How or when did you realize you wanted to pursue a career in post-production? Could you tell me more about your editing origins?
I basically got into post-production because I had to learn how to edit my own projects. In middle school and high school, I was fortunate enough to have a TV class and a teacher who was great at teaching me how to use old school Premiere Pro. That gave me a lot of insight into how I could create my own things. I definitely feel fortunate to know this is what I wanted to do pretty much from the get-go. I think as I took more classes throughout college and had to edit and experiment more with it, it was just something I realized I enjoyed and made a lot of sense to me. I just feel naturally my role became more specifically for editing, and as my career continued to develop, I kind of realized this is something I really wanted to pursue, and I've just been fortunate enough that it's kept me sustained for well over a decade at this point.
I always was messing around with film and stuff when I was a kid. I'd make my siblings be in movies, and I'd always try to get out of papers in school by, can I do a movie instead? And I didn't really look at it so much as a career. As I got older, I realized, I'm a visual learner and I understand things differently. And I wanted a way to express that, over the years. By the time I was sort of in the high school position where you're like, where do you want to go to school? And then realizing that I could go to a school that specializes in learning how to do film, I think that I lit up.
You may have heard this from other people, but running around with a video camera and making movies with my friends when I was a kid. This is long before, video phones and YouTube. And I always enjoyed, even with two VCRs and just tape to tape editing and overdubbing and playing around with audio and video mashups, I guess you'd call them now, kind of a thing. And I was always the one shooting them. My friends were more in front of the camera. And so I would be back in my family living room with two VCRs taping back and forth.
If you attended a form of higher education, how do you think that college or film school benefited you?
There's not a one size fits all. I think that film school is aligning with like-minded individuals and really pursuing a craft. You can pursue a craft without school, but there's a lot of technique and a lot of experience with the professors that you wouldn't get on your own. And when you cut your own projects, you don't organize how you would in a mainstream film or television show. That is something that you learn both ways in film school and in your experiences. But I think film school can build a foundation that if you're doing it for yourself, you will never get because you'll just never be exposed to it.
Film school certainly gives you the opportunity to make films, and you make these relationships that maybe one of your friends or your colleagues gets a job and they can hire you, or you get a job and you get to hire the people you worked with in college. On the other hand, it's very expensive, and some people just want to take that money and make a short film and use that as a calling card. It just depends on where you want to place your money and what you think you can do.
I grew up in what I guess you'd call a blue-collar family and didn't have a lot of exposure to entertainment that was outside the mainstream. So for me, there were two big benefits that I got out of going to college. The first was exposure to films that I might not have ever seen otherwise. Documentaries, avant-garde or experimental films, foreign films. I was also exposed to film theory, which was very important in my understanding of how different directors used the medium to tell their stories. Cultural anthropology, which opened my mind to the reality that our culture and even our language shapes the way we interpret the world around us. And when you watch films from different cultures, you see that not just stories, but things like pacing and camera placement are greatly influenced by the particular culture in which they come from. The other big benefit was access to film and editing equipment in order to make my own films. And during my time at Temple University, I made several short films, one of which won a number of awards at festivals around the country.
What's the first job or opportunity that you believe got your foot in the door in an industry as competitive as this?
Someone in New York had known my other work before that, which was kind of funny, and so he hired me for a comedy show, and it was for Hulu, the first year they started, for the show called Difficult People. And so that was my first union scripted job. Yeah, I mean, that's how I got in. It's just someone just believed in me, basically. Hulu was like, why are you hiring this documentary editor to edit a half-hour comedy? I was editing all these really depressing documentaries. Just someone was like, no, I know he can do it, and he fought for me. So that's the thing. You have to have people on your side, I guess, a bit. That helps.
When I was at William Patterson, I had a great advisor. He had a contact at Fox News Channel. He said, well, if you want to do editing, I know the head of post-production over there, let's get you an internship. That was actually my junior year of college. So I interned there, and long story short, at the end of the internship, they offered me a part-time freelance job while I was still in school.
What's a significant obstacle that you faced during your journey of becoming an editor?
When I was an assistant editor, I never felt sexism. And I think probably because, I was really good at my job, but when you have the assistant label in society, it's like, oh, that's a woman's job. She is assisting, even though assistant editor is so much more than that. It's not just assisting the editor. But there's kind of attachment to it. So once that went away and I was just editing, I faced a lot of sexism, a couple of jobs in particular that were pretty hostile. I was supposed to work with the producer, and the producer would be in my room for 30 seconds and then go and talk and laugh and joke with him. And I was like, I'm supposed to work with you. Yeah.
One challenge I felt is not really knowing how much work it was, because I enjoyed it for a while, just being young and working all hours of the day. But once I got married, and we don't have kids, but even on my wife and just in general, family in general, it's hard. It's they're long hours and 3 or 4 months. And so it's kind of a vagabond life for a lot of production people. You kind of go wherever the shooting is. And so that was the biggest challenge to me, was having to be away from home and being wherever in that case, the director lives.
I know that collaboration is crucial in filmmaking. Could you describe how you interact with directors, producers, or other team members in order to really capture their vision and incorporate their feedback into your editing process?
It's a lot of patience, and sometimes it's really a delicate balance, because I think producers and directors, they don't want, I keep on using the word button pusher, but they don't really want that. You know what I mean? They want someone who's going to come in with ideas and be like, hey, let's, there's so many times directors have suggested something and you have to, you're like, that's so stupid. Well, that's never going to work. But you have to bite your tongue and just try it. And then half the time it's amazing. So I think you really have to have a good faith effort of trusting what they're trying to do. but also have faith in yourself when you know something is not working and you need to come up with something else.
Making sure everybody feels heard. The biggest thing for me when I am done with a show or I'm done with a movie, I want my showrunner or my director to feel like they have squeezed every ounce of life out of that footage. They have explored every option. I want them to walk away like nothing was left on the table. That's when I feel like I've done my job.
With the rapid development of AI and its implementation in the post-production process, do you believe that eventually AI can completely eradicate the art of human editing?
No, because so much of editing is about collaboration. It's about working with people. I don't think that's ever going to be replaced. It's a nice narrative from the media, but that just doesn't. It's a nice narrative for a lot of things. It is going to help make things more efficient, but you're never going to lose that because ultimately you're working with people. Producers and directors don't want to talk to a machine.
It's cool because, I'm sure AI is going to start to kind of come into the picture, and I think it's a little scary, and the unions have to kind of like write rules. The writers did theirs, the actors did theirs. I think we're going to have to write down some rules and regulations to protect our union members. But I think at the same side that they can be used intelligently as tools to, create art that I think just like allows us to do more, or at least present something that is it could be this. But let's get an artist to perfect this, or especially and then also streamlining things that are not creative, just to get the ball moving a little quicker.
If you were looking to hire an assistant editor, what kind of traits would you want them to have?
What I look for in an assistant, besides a basic understanding of the technical requirements, is a good personality. After all, you're going to be working closely together for months, possibly a year or more, and you want to be sure that the person you hire is actually going to assist you and engage with the material and not just mechanically come to work and do the minimum amount required. What I don't want is someone who secretly thinks they should be the editor. It's rare, but it does happen, and those assistants don't last very long.
My assistant needs to be just enthusiastic and happy to be here. Enthusiasm goes a long way in terms of spirit around the editing room and getting work, efficiency.
I think what makes you stand out, at least for the people you work with, whatever, is just having a strong work ethic, and those things are going to get you hired again, and being a team player and really having a can-do attitude.
What advice would you give to someone who is just starting out in their career?
I want to start off by saying there's no one path to working in the film business. Luck plays a huge part, but persistence is also very important. You never know what set of circumstances might unfold that might lead you to your goal of getting a job in the business.
Just show your stuff wherever you can, how often you can, on whatever platform you can. If you're starting out, just work on whatever you can, even if it's not paying, even if it's not great. Just having work to show what you can do, to show what you've worked on is always beneficial.
Challenge yourself and then end up, picking up a new skill while you're at it. So I think that one of the things that I think is crucial is communication, knowing what your abilities are, knowing when you may need help, and look for that help.
Really be out there and, just be ready. Go do what you want to do. Don't hurt anybody and don't be boring.
It's just, you have to pour kind of everything into it. There's no timeline to anybody's career in entertainment. I think that's what's so hard about it, honestly. I think the immediacy that social media has given us, I think a lot of kids want that in their careers. And I think in the real world, it's like you still have to earn it and go through the motions. And I don't think that should be a discouraging thing. There's no roadmap. It's like you got to figure it out on your own, and you got to take risks. And I think the more risks you take, the more reward you can get.
Keep going, it's as you grow, work on stuff that's the other thing you have to worry about a little bit is this industry will really pigeonhole you, Like if you're doing reality, people are going to see you as a reality editor. If you do doc, people will see you as a doc. And I got lucky. I broke out of the doc into comedy and then to drama. And like, so I've gotten kind of lucky being able to float around, but I know some people are just like, really, like that's the path they got. You know what I mean? But I think some of the biggest advances in my career happened when I said no. You know, I had some experience under my belt. You're like, okay, I've done that. I don't need to do that again. And I'm going to wait for the next right one to come. And that's usually when I do that is when I get a little bump up, you know, and it's hard. It's still difficult because you get worried, but you know, it's a freelance world and you get worried. I don't know. You got to mix it up sometimes.